Welcome, everybody. I have with me today Mark Thomas, who is Head of Investigations for RSPB UK. And we're going to talk about raptor persecution in general, and particularly in the case of hen harriers, over the last 12 months. So, Mark, can I ask you to take us back in time to 12 months ago, and how are you feeling then about the situation?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. I think in summary, raptor persecution has continued, and there's no real surprise there. And in particular for hen harriers, there's been a lot of incidents. So in the last 12 months, the RSPB has published a report called Hen Harriers in the Firing Line, and that details all the things that have happened to harriers that we know about. And I caveat that because there's probably lots of things we don't know. And, satellite tags have been the breakthrough because they really give us the definitive of where a bird's vanished and why. So raptor persecution's continued, and RSPB, the team I manage, we've been very active in the field, so we've been detecting lots of incidents. People can't have failed to notice three big cases that have already happened in the last 3 months of the year, actually. So these were all investigated, or they originated and were investigated over a year and a half ago. But there's been a bit of synchronicity in terms of when they've appeared at court. So the first case, was the buzzard bashing case, as we call it, in North Yorkshire. This is where we installed a covert camera on a pheasant estate, and just a matter of days later, we filmed the gamekeeper on that estate, Thomas Mundy, and basically he beat a buzzard to death inside the trap with a stick. And he was fined just over £1,000. And I think it's just worth reflecting at this time, it's for us, it's never about the individual we catch, and it's never about the punishment. That's just another case, and it's another opportunity to tell the truth of what is going on in lots of places in the countryside. This is widespread. Our data shows it's widespread. And then, of course, the next case after that is the really big case, probably our largest ever significant investigation, where we managed to infiltrate at least one person conspiring to kill a hen harrier. So this is on the Grassington shooting estate, again in North Yorkshire. And to give all the credit to my team, they spent hours and hours over months and months to get into a position where they could install a camera, install a sound recording device. And then lo and behold, the perpetrator, the convicted person in this case, comes and sits right in shot. A really good thing from both of those cases is that the RSPB's covert evidence was accepted by the court. There was no kind of, well, we can't show this or we can't do it because you came onto private land and you infringed our human rights, or whatever the defense argument might be. The footage was categorical. We had incidents here, and it's gold standard evidence, and that's what we thrive or strive actually in the team to obtain. We're painstakingly trying to get the best evidence because that gives you the best chance. And then the final case is in Scotland, where our team filmed another individual, a gamekeeper again, and this time he beat a goshawk to death. And that's actually in court on Friday of this week, in a couple of days' time. He's pleaded guilty again, and we're getting the sentencing of this. So just to come back to what I said, it's not, for us, it's not about the punishment, it's not about the individual. It's absolutely about telling these stories, making the public aware of what's going on, and putting pressure on government. There's only really government that can change this. We can have these cases year in and year out, and multiple cases. We can present all the facts and the evidence and everything, but if government are not going to change it at a policy level, then it's very, very difficult to see how this is going to improve. And that's the good news. That's the real good news here, because about 3 weeks ago, the Westminster government announced in a document called the Land Use Framework document, they announced the desire to look at game bird shooting in relation to raptor persecution, to look at the potential of licensing, and if they do go down that route, to then consult on what their decision is. So This has taken 25 years, maybe longer than 25 years, and it's the first positive signal. So we massively welcome that. We massively thank the ministers. We've been having private meetings with them for quite a bit of time now. They're convinced by the evidence. The evidence is there for everybody to see what is going on here. And we just hope, that we can work with them, that licensing does come in. And just a reminder to people what licensing is. Licensing is basically just a license so grouse shooting or game bird shooting can operate. So if you run a shoot, you apply for the license. It's not a lot of money. It's a small amount of money. You apply for it annually, and that just gives you the ticket to continue your business. And, the RSPB is neutral on the ethics of game bird shooting. So if you're shooting within the law, you have nothing to fear. It's just the small burden of filling in the form, putting the money in and getting the permission. However, and this is the significant bit, if you are somebody who is breaking the law and your business model routinely requires raptors to be killed in order to maximize your profit, then this is going to impact you. You apply for the license, you get caught, and then at that stage, the license to operate can be removed, maybe up to 5 years, and that would hit you financially. And that's the point we have to get to. It has to be a meaningful penalty for killing raptors, and it has to make the person who's orchestrating this, be it the landowner, the estate owner, the individual gamekeeper, it's got to make them think: is this worth it? Do we carry on killing birds of prey, or do we start killing them? Or do we actually just go, no, this is now, the stakes are too high? So that's a really pivotal moment. Thank you again for your support as in raising the money that enables us to put tags on harriers. We hope those harriers live a long time, but if they don't and they're illegally killed, then at least we can investigate that with the police, National Wildlife Crime Unit, and try and bring some justice. It's the tags shine a really bright light in where crime is taking place. What are the hot spots? What's the land ownership there? And many of these incidents are on driven grouse moors or near driven grouse moors. And it's no coincidence, as I've said, that 2/3 of all the people convicted are linked to game bird shooting or are game keepers. This is where the problem lies. Having said that, there's lots of people in that industry who are progressive. We just need them to be a bit more vocal.
Mark Thomas, Head of Investigations, RSPB UK, thank you very much.
The biggest challenges that we face are finding out, first of all, that a crime's taking place. The birds can't contact us and let us know what's going on, so we rely heavily on members of the public finding things. There are organisations like the RSPB that will go out and deliberately look for things as well to see if they can identify where crime's taking place. But that's one of the biggest challenges that we face. But then also coming up into an area like this and trying to find evidence is really, really difficult, because you're looking for something that's it's a bird, it blends in with its environment, so it's really, really tricky to find. But that's where the satellite tagging can really significantly help us, and we have got new techniques and new ways of trying to recover evidence. But I think for me, overall, all of that sits at the back end of crime. The biggest challenge is removing the drivers. It's getting in and speaking with those people who are involved in the crime, making the crime socially unacceptable, and removing their desire to have to commit the crimes. Now what I'm starting to see is within the shooting communities, people are sick of it, because people who go shooting and are going out there and they might be hunting, they might be clay pigeon shooting, they're getting a negative spotlight put on them by these people who are committing crime. And it's not fair on them, but they now need to turn in and start looking in. It's no different than, I suppose, in policing. If we've got corrupt police officers, I don't want corrupt police officers because it makes us all look bad. So I'll do my best to push those people out and to report them properly so that we can get something done about it. We need to start seeing that now from within. That's the culture change that's got to happen. It's got to be them that does it. So since 2021, my team has analysed 152 referrals that have come to our team. Now that's just for satellite tagged hen harriers that have come to us that have disappeared. And we call it a stop no malfunction. So the satellite tag should be operating perfectly fine. You can see it in the data, it's operating perfectly fine. And for some reason, all of a sudden it stops. So far, we've identified 8 hotspots. Out of 8, 7 are on driven grouse moors. One of them is not, but it's next door to the worst offending one. A hotspot is basically a location where a crime involving a tagged hen harrier has repeated in the last 3 years. Now that is just involving tagged birds. So, you know, there's intelligence that we've got that says that, and we include this in the data when we go, that of other birds, gulls, buzzards, red kites, other things that are also victims of crime. But we go there with the data, with the satellite tag data that we can show to somebody to say, we can't hide the data, we're not making this up. We might not be able to prove exactly who's pulling the trigger and who's committing the crime, but we can say crime's taking place here and we need to work together to stop it. So out of the 8 hotspots that we've been to, as I said, 7 of them are on driven grouse moors. They are the worst offending ones, that's why they're a hotspot. We started doing the visits in January 2024. We've not had a single crime involving a satellite tagged hen harrier on a hotspot since then. Not a single crime. Involving a tagged bird. Now, like I've mentioned before, the Dingwall case, we know, and intelligence says they're targeting the untagged birds. So there's still potentially issues there, but these were the worst ones. So not a single crime involving a tagged bird since January 2024. What we would need in order to improve our evidence recovery is more eyes and ears on the ground. We need more people reporting things to us. And as I mentioned earlier, that's people within the community who are working up in these environments. They need to realise that the impact it's going to have on them and on their industry. They need to be telling us more. But there's a lot of people that come up to these places walking the dogs, bird watching, wildlife watching. We've got Operation Owl, which is a national project for the National Wildlife Crime Unit, where that's all about asking people to be our eyes and ears. I suppose it's neighbourhood watch for these remote locations. Get out there. If you see something and it's safe to do so, record it. Make a note of the location, either a grid reference or what 3 words, descriptions of the people involved, what they're doing, how are they acting, what can you actually see. If it's safe to do so, film it, take a photograph. Eyes and ears on the ground has got to be the best way for us, and more satellite tag birds will help.